If you were confused in the last video I made about subnetting using this thing I call the Z-chart, don't worry about it. It was your first introduction to the Z-chart. I'm going to show you how to use it now for a little more complex subnetting, inter-octet subnetting. So let's reconstruct. I'm only going to reconstruct the first part of my Z-chart. In other words, the fourth octet. So here we go. 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, 128. This represents hosts or increments, with the caveat that if I use it for hosts, I have to subtract 2. Next, we have the subnet mask numbers: 128, 192, 224, 240, 248, 252, 254, 255. If you haven't memorized them yet, I suggest you do, but if you can't memorize them or you have trouble with it, just remember to keep adding the next number. 128 plus 64 is 192. 192 plus 32 is 224, and so on. So these are the subnet masks. Finally, we have CIDR /25, /26, /27, /28, /29, /30, /31, /32. All right, there we have it. This is all fourth octet. Now, I'm not going to bother with the third octet or the second octet or any of that. So right now, just the fourth octet. And we're going to subnet inter-octet. So in other words, I'm only going to borrow some bits. I'm not going to borrow an entire octet's worth of bits. 192.168.0.0.255.255.255.0. So you can see I only have one octet to work with for hosts here. These first three are network octet bits, and so I can't change those. So I have one network with numbers ranging from 0 to 255 here. So what happens if I want to subnet this? I only have 256 possible addresses on this network, the first of which is a network address, the last of which is broadcast address. So that leaves me 254 possible hosts. Well, that may not be enough hosts. So how do I subnet this? Well, I could borrow just a small number of bits. So let me, instead of borrowing 8 bits here, now this is one, let me write these in. That's 8 bits. That's 8 bits. That's 8 bits. And then we've got 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0 over here. This is all the bits in the subnet mask. Let's just borrow one of these bits right here. I'm going to turn that one into a 1. Well, what does this number look like now? Well, now it looks like 255.255.255. Well, what's this? Well, we put a 1 here, we put zeros in all these other spots. So this is a 128. I now have a 128. So how do I subnet that? Okay, let's take a look at how we would go about that. I'm going to draw my chart. I keep making stray marks here. I'm going to draw my chart here. This will be the network over here, the first usable host, the last usable host, the broadcast address, and the subnet mask. Well, the first address of the network, of the first network here, we already have 192.168.0.0. So far, so good. Oh, I see what's going on. My touch is on this thing, and my hand keeps making all these dots. There, I just turn the touch off. So hopefully my hand won't do that anymore. Okay. This is our first network address. What's our second network address? Well, we have to look and see what we borrowed. We borrowed 1 bit, so we borrowed now to a 128. So if this is a 128, that's right here, right? That's right there. Or I could look at it another way. I could say I've got 8, 16, 24, I got 25 ones. That's right here, right? So I got a subnet mask of 128 in the 4th octet, or a CIDR of /25. Okay, either way, I should be able now to work out what I need for my increments, because my increments are going to be right here. This is going to be the column that I have identified now that I'm going to be working with, and the increments are given to me right here. Increments of 128. Let me back that up, and I'm just going to put that down. Put that back here. 128 in the 4th octet. All right? 128 in the 4th octet. So let's put that in here. Well, 128 in the 4th octet. 192.168.0.128. That is the second network address. This is the first network address, and this is the second network address. Now, I want to get what both of these networks are, and I can't get any more networks in this. I can only get 2 subnets out of this. In order to get the next one, let's go ahead and add another increment of 128 to this, just for accounting purposes. 192.168.0. Well, 128 plus 128 is 256. Now, I know that that's not a valid network address. We can only go up to 255. But it does give us enough information. This is only for accounting purposes. This does give us enough information to get our broadcast address. Because one before that, what this would actually be, by the way, would be 1.0. But I can call it 256 if I want, because I'm just using it for accounting, or I could call it 1.0 if I wanted to. But one before 0.255 would be, there's 256 would be 0.255. One before 0.128 would be 0.127. In order to get the last address, I need one smaller than that. So a broadcast address of 0.126. Or excuse me, not broadcast, last address. Last address here of 0.254. First address, one after 0.0 would be 0.1. One after 0.128 would be 0.129. Subnet mask, well, the subnet mask is 128 in the 4th octet. Also /25. We could call it either one. /25, or we could call it 255.255.255.128. 255.128. And there we have it. We now have our 2 subnets. Now notice that we have 2 subnets. This column here is going to represent 2 possible subnets from our starting location. This is going to be 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, and so on. 128. I can't really go beyond this, by the way. As a matter of fact, we'll see later, I can't even go beyond this one. 64 would be as many as I would possibly be able to get, and I'll show you why a little bit later. But we're going to do some more of these in another video. In fact, I'll do another one in the next video just so you kind of get the hang of it, and hopefully it'll begin to come together.